Okay.
Couple of notes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the January 21st meeting of the City of Charleston Planning Commission. My name is Charlie Karras. I'm the chairman. I'm joined by, to my immediate right, Harold Thane, the vice chairman, and to my far left, Steve Hirsch, Donna Jacobs, Erica Harrison, and to my very far right, McKenna Joyce. These folks are volunteers appointed by Charleston City Council, and we know you join me in thanking them for their time and their work on behalf of our city. The way the meeting will be run tonight is I'll read an item from the agenda into the record, and then we'll hear from staff, and we'll hear from anyone, and we'll hear from the applicant. And anyone in support of the application, anyone who may have concerns about the application. And after that, we'll give the applicant an opportunity to answer any questions that are brought up. After that, we'll close the public aspect of this, convention members to discuss, make motions, and vote on. If you have a cell phone, I ask you to turn it off or on silent. If you get up to speak tonight, I ask you to come to the podium, tell us who you are, if you're representing someone, and where you reside. Mr. Morgan, before we get into the agenda, would you introduce any staff members that you're presenting tonight?
Yes, sir. I'm Christopher Morgan, planning manager here at the city. We've got a couple of all-star city staff members in addition to our regular staff. Our city attorney, Julia Copeland, is here tonight, as well as one of our stormwater engineers, John Prim. So we'll be able to ask them questions about agenda items that you have tonight. And then for my staff, Amanda Cox, who is the planning commission planner, is here. Anna Park, who is our senior zoning planner and handles the subdivision aspects, is here. Molly Connor, our annexation planner. Philip Overcash, our senior planner, and Jasmine is not here tonight. She's reviewing this via tape.
Great, thank you, Mr. Morgan. The first item is on this moment of silence. We have, unfortunately, Barbara Ellison, who was on this commission for over 30 years, passed away a couple of weeks ago. She was a very diligent, hardworking member of this commission. I talked to her son. He said they probably found books of notes every meeting. I don't want to compare Ms. Jacobs. She takes notes of everything that was said. And they found books and books and books of notes from the commission. Mr. Proteus, she didn't miss anything. And she was a wonderful person, a wonderful commission member, and a great person for the city of Charleston, and sorely missed by the community, by this commission, and everyone in her family. The other item is she's not here tonight. Laquita Bryant Jenkins lost her husband about 2 weeks ago. Idris Jermaine Jenkins. Ms. Ellison was in her 90s, so she lived a good full life. We should have lived longer, but this gentleman was young. He was a magistrate for the Charleston County. I've known him for about 25 years. Just a wonderful person, wonderful husband, great father, and he'll be missed by the community, the county, and his family, obviously. So if we can have a moment of silence on behalf of those, I appreciate it. Thank you all. Next item on the agenda is minutes, and you have minutes. One correction I did represent them was I wasn't at the last meeting, and I'm sorry I did not much notice on that, but Mr. Lassane ran that meeting and had me down as explaining the orders of the meeting. So I hope I was heard. I hope I was still felt, but I wasn't.
Your presence was felt.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to catch that for you if you hadn't.
Jacobs, I knew you would have called.
But I also would like to thank the clerk and their staff for our consideration to do the header footer on the pages, because I just printed that out for them and include the voting record in our minutes. I appreciate that consideration.
Is that a motion, Mr. Street?
Yes, as a motion to approve of the corrections that the chair made.
Okay. Second by Mr. Lassane, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone in opposition? I'm not going to vote since I wasn't here for that meeting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor, none opposed. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion with the commission's indulgence that we take the zonings first on the agenda. In case anybody's here for those.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, but all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great, thank you. So zoning. I'm gonna leave, Mr. Morgan, we can take most of those together.
Yes, sir.
Number one.
Yeah, I think one would be separate and then
Okay.
all your SR ones together and then the
Okay.
RR one.
Okay, we'll take ones for 1744 East Avalon Circle. PMS number 3521300083.31 acres. It was west zoning at STR. And zone R4 in the county was small.
And that's single and two family residential. You need to remind everybody of that because these days the STR phrase means something else. This means single and two family residential. Here it is. It's surrounded on either side by STR zone as well for single and two family residential. And here's an image of the property.
Great. Move for approval. Move by approval, Mr. Hussein, second.
I'll move for second.
We move for second.
It's.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Six in favor, none opposed. Thank you. So it looks like we can take 2 through 7 together, correct?
Yes,
I'll read those in the record. 2 is 1352 South Edgefield Drive. I'm not gonna read those tax map numbers if that's okay. Number 3 is 32 Rosedale Drive. Number 4 is Island Drive. Number 5 is 1598. I'm sorry, it's 218 Island Drive. Number 5 is 1598 Moon Hall Drive. Number 6 is 2206 Reapaloo Trail. Number 7 is 2520 Liverpool Drive. And all of these will come in as SR1. And it looks like they were all 4 in Charleston County. Mr. Moore?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Correct. And we've been scrolling through their pictures and they're all listed on the agenda, of course. And yeah, coming in as the most compatible district with what they have in Charleston County.
Would anyone like to be heard on any of those items? Okay, great. Is there? Move for approval, Mr. Lane moves for items 2 through
I'll second.
7. Second by Ms. Jacobs. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Anyone in opposition? 6 in favor, none opposed. So the next item, are we taking something together? Well, let me read this.
No.
Right. Okay. So 0 Folly Road, James Island, PMS 427. I'm on message 0000000. Thank 19. Count the district 12 of 3.12 acres. West zoning, rural residential, zone special management, S3 from Charleston County, Mr. Moore.
And first, I'll note that this has already received a first reading at City Council at their meeting last week. And at that time, City Council made the change to, instead of RR1, to take it to conservation, which is a little bit less intense zoning. This is a site that will be used, and this is related to the subdivisions coming up before you tonight as well. The subdivision that's the Grenville Folly assemblage, and this would be added to that subdivision area for a stormwater retention pond. And there is an image here of where the property is, and essentially, other than some trees, this whole property would be used for stormwater retention that you'll see in your subdivision request. And so, you know, we had advertised it as RR1, but it's within your purview if you want to take it to what council voted on. You're fully able to do that. That would just need to be part of your motion.
Great, thank you. Is the owner here or any applicant on that? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission. My name is Ellis Leisman. My address is 418 King Street. Mr. Chairman, I'll reserve most of my remarks for the subdivision concept plan portion of the meeting. But we do not object to either the staff's recommendation or to the city's council's motion to zone the property under the conservation zoning, which would be the most conservative possible zoning for the property. Again, as Mr. Morgan indicated, it is a support parcel for a townhome development that'll be before you. But we are comfortable with, in our discussions with the city, with it being zoned RR1, which I think is closest to what it was in the county, or to the conservation zoning, which was made at motion of the most recent city council meeting. And so again, the purpose of the annexation was to allow for this assemblage to be under one jurisdiction. There is a significant amount of stormwater and drainage infrastructure that will be on this proposed project to allow for it to comply with special protection area requirements. And as you all may have seen in your experience, and I know that folks from the cities could confirm, it's better when the city has control or when the county has control over the entire project rather than it being split across jurisdictions. So that was the purpose of the annexation. Now, as you all know, it's your assignment to have a hearing and to take an action, make a recommendation on the zoning. And we're comfortable with the RR1 or the conservation. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Would anyone like to be heard in favor of this zoning? In favor, come on up. Ms. Jackson, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been opposed to this for a long, long time, so this is the end of the road in terms of land use decisions that are being made in the public arena at the Planning Commission. There will be a second and third reading at City Council. But normally the council, I mean, you're welcome to come as a member of the public and speak during citizen participation time. But normally the council doesn't hold a public hearing for a simple zoning like this. So I guess my first ask for you is to recognize that I'm not here in her place. She didn't ask me to represent her, but I'm here to tell you that you have an amazing new city council representative for this District 12. Leslie Scarden was seated at the first meeting of the council this month. And I've already seen her be as proactive as anyone would desire of a hands-on elected official. So she had done her homework and made the recommendation at the council meeting that basically it was an amendment to the item that was on the council's docket to put forward the first reading that had been RR1, which would allow buildings on it. It's a low density residential, but conservation is really the best solution. And I think the history of this land is challenging, and I think it's been rightfully opposed to be a redevelopment over the years, but we're here with a by right zoning for townhouses. And I think having this particular property of 3 acres dedicated to the stormwater solutions that now have been upgraded and tightened in terms of requirements for builders. This is really the best that we can ask of our officials. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Would anyone else like to be heard in favor of this zoning request? Anyone in opposition to the zoning request? Would that like, oh, go ahead, sir, I'm sorry.
As an opposition.
But yeah, would you like to come out, hold up the podium? Yes. Tell us who you are, where you live, if you would. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Stuart Walters. I live on 1922 Grimble Road, right down the street. I actually grew up on this side, on that side of Grimble Road. Born and raised there, so all 10 years of my life I spent in this area, in this community. I'm also a civil engineer. I've worked with the city before on multiple different projects. The latest one being the Johns Island Elementary School. I was on that team that brought that project to life. So I understand from a landlord perspective the implications of this project. I understand the stormwater and structures and how everything affects the community. And so I'm here today as to oppose of it. And I say that because there's a couple of concerns that I have as a member of the community, and also I think I can speak on a lot of other members of our community. And I haven't had much time to dig into the plans. But I guess my biggest concern is what is the plan to mitigate existing flooding issues with consideration to the tidal influence? Grimble Road extension, every major rain event floods. I mean, I'm talking 2-3 inches on the road, standing water on the road. With this project coming in, I understand that most of Grimble Road extension is the county. So with this project, it doesn't seem to be any type of mitigation plan to help the residents of the community with issues that we have brought to the county's attention for years now. So that's number one. Number two is traffic study. Has there been a traffic study conducted for this project?
We're gonna let, I tell you, you give us your comments and then we're gonna get some answers.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good. So next would be the, like I said, traffic study has been conducted. During the summertime, we know that Folly Beach is a hot commodity. Everyone wants to power Folly Beach, and this street over the years have been used as a prep route zone. I mean, a street that is typically 35 miles per hour, you can sit outside and you could watch cars fly by at 55 miles per hour. So bringing more residents in, and from my understanding, the entrance to this property is on Grimble Extension. So what are the traffic mitigation plan? So thirdly, how does this project benefit our community, the Grimble Road Extension community? Like I said, I've been on the other side of these battles, promoting for structures, promoting for buildings to come into counties and cities. So I understand that there needs to be some type of benefit. My question is, what is the benefit of this project for our community? Those are my main concerns. So I would, in opposition, we would like to have those questions answered.
Yes, sir. We'll see if we can get some answers. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Anyone else like to speak in opposition?
Do you want us to wait until you talk about the actual, what they're gonna talk about next, or do you want us, I mean,
I don't think we can,
It's tough
I
to
don't think
separate
because we're
that.
doing an annexation.
This is annexation.
Station, because we
Yeah,
should,
this is just a zoning of the property, so maybe we probably should wait. Why don't we wait on that?
that's fine. Because it sounds like a lot of what he brought up is what I would have said, but it's more pertaining to the actual project.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity. I'm Rhonda Walters. I've been in the community for 60 years. And my family have owned properties in that area for nearly 100 years, Roper Moore family. We have concerns and we feel that this particular development will be a disadvantage for the community. Again, like Mr. Walters said, stormwater drainage. Are there plans where the water, I know they have a plan for stormwater, but what about the residents here? And how's the water gonna flow? Where is it going to flow? And how it's going to not impact the residents? It's a grassroots neighborhood. I have an aunt that just passed away. She was 110 just this year. So again, it's an old grassroots neighborhood that we love. And we'd like to not be on the end where we suffer the benefit when the developer and the contractors and the architect have left. And we're left with issues that, as you can see, we have a hard time getting our ditches cleaned. So I can imagine what's gonna happen if this development go through and we're stuck. What's gonna happen? How's the city of Charleston and the county going to help these citizens who pay taxes and want to live in a safe area? Flooding, the impact of traffic to the community, the infrastructure effects, sidewalks. There are no sidewalks there. You can't even walk. It's not user friendly. Turning lane. How exactly is this construction with the entrance and the exit emptying on Grimble Road Extension? You know, how are you going to deal with that? How are you all going to deal with that? Affordability. Developers gonna come in. What about affordable homes? These are 67 townhouses. The city of Charleston, every day, the mayor talks about affordable housing. And I know you haven't anything to do with that, but these are our concerns. Especially if we have a school there. Our teachers are able to live there, and other first responders and citizens who've lived in that area. these are my concerns, and I'm just actually going back with, on some of the things that Mr. Roper said. Thank you for considering our concerns. Please, I ask that you do not, approve this until either developers or someone actually have a chance to speak with the citizens of River Road Extension.
Give me your name one time for the record.
Ron Walters,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
thank
And
you.
again, someone knows, what we're discussing now is strictly the zoning of the property,
Yes.
nothing else.
But I'm sure zoning, it's a trickle down effect.
Yes, ma'am.
If you do it like the city did, approve it, we're almost doomed, and that's, so we want our voices heard.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you coming. Anyone else in opposition? Anyone else in opposition? Would the applicant like to respond to any concerns, or the city and some of the questions asked?
We will address this.
Yeah.
It's,
When we address the subdivision.
Yeah, and we're gonna, Mr. Hussein said, when we deal with the subdivision, we're gonna address some of these same issues as well. So, yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, Mr. Chairman, absolutely, and I agree with Commissioner Lassaine's point, and we're prepared to address those issues. I have with me Reed Walters, professional engineer with LJA, who's the project of record. And again, for this particular agenda item, so that we don't duplicate or take everybody's time, again, prepared for the planning commission to make its recommendation of either RR1 for conservation, because it's got to get a zoning assignment. And again, conservation is the most conservative possible zoning assignment. And again, that's to ensure that there's not some unexpected use down the road, for example. So again, we're comfortable with that. I'm not hiding from what was discussed, and we're really prepared to help inform some folks this evening about some of their concerns, and both tonight and after tonight. But with that, I think if the commission feels like it has the information it would need to make a zoning recommendation, we'll defer the remainder of the discussion until that agenda item comes up.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Moore, anything else to add? No? Okay, great. That's gonna close the public hearing aspect of this. Commission members discuss, questions, comments, motions.
I guess I have a comment, and that is just for those who spoke and those who didn't speak. Just to be clear, what's before the commission at this moment is the property owner has petitioned to come into the city of Charleston under our jurisdiction, the city's jurisdiction, and we are required to give the property a zoning designation. That's when it comes into the city, it has to receive a zoning designation. What was recommended by city council was the lowest density zoning category that the city has. And so I would like to make a motion that we approve conservation zoning for this parcel. And the issues that the gentleman brought up and Ms. Walters, you discussed, those are very legitimate, and I want to discuss them. And we will get to that when we get to the subdivisions portion of the agenda. So I'm not punting that, because we want to have a full discussion about that. You deserve it. City deserves it. But for now, as Ms. Jackson so eloquently put it, I think it's appropriate for us to go ahead and put a zoning on the property now, and then we can address the specifics of this subdivision request when we get to that point in the agenda.
Yes, sir. So there's a motion by saying to approve the zoning to conservation. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
I'll second the motion.
There's a second by Ms. Jacobs. Any other questions or comments? Not all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. 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 Anyone opposed? That's 6 in favor, none opposed. Fine.
Are we ready? Don't you? Yes.
Yeah, we can just go straight to that, for commission.
But,
You want to make a motion?
well,
on that?
actually, I would like to go to executive session for.
Okay.
If I would like a request of executive session.
Okay, so
I'll second that.
there's no vote needed on that.
Yes, there is a vote.
There's a vote. All in favor of going to executive session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone in opposition?
Oh, yeah, they're,
Yeah,
Please.
yeah, for the executive session.
legal advice.
Is it an item number or?
It is an item number.
Give us-
Which one?
Item on the agenda.
Thank you. I was like.
And not for the whole agenda.
I was like, what are you asking me?
Number on the agenda for executive session.
I'm sorry. Y'all, the branch announcements are firing today. Number two,
Subdivision E2.
yeah,
Number two on the
Number two.
subdivision, River Road, assembly.
yes.
Is there a reason for it, or just saying we want to talk about it?
Yeah, we do need to give a
Just
legitimate.
a legal counsel or?
Yeah, yes.
A legal opinion?
Yeah, I need a legal opinion.
Thank you. That motion's been passed. Executive session. Be right back. Well.
Yes, yes.
Sorry.
As well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we come out of executive session.
I'll second that.
Second by Ms. Jacobs, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's okay, we're not opposed. Just so everyone knows, there was no votes taken in executive session, we just got some legal. So we're gonna read, I think there's a motion.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we take another item out of order since we're already discussing. I'd like us to move to number D2 under subdivision.
Great. I'll read it for the record. Subdivision Global Road 7. In volunteer TMS number 427 000001902019039106110 111 Council District 12 14.097 acres. Concept plan approval for mixed-use commercial and single-family attachment residential development for 67 lots. Mr. Morgan or Ms. Hart?
It's been a minute since I've been here, but it's me. Good evening. The applicant is requesting subdivision concept plan approval for 14.097 acres on Rainbow Road Extension and Folly Road. We know where like the properties are highlighted there. The project will consist in the creation of 67 lots for one family attached dwellings. So, sorry, here's the comprehensive plan. It shows that as neighborhood edge. There's some photos of the site. And here's the plan that has been presented to TRC. The project will consist in the creation of 67 lots for one family attached dwellings. 5 of those, the ones that are highlighted in blue, are going to be classified as live work units. 1 commercial parcel and the rights of way to serve those lots. The new parcels and rights of ways conform to the subdivision requirements for one family attached parcels in the limited business zoning district. Parcels are also under the Folly Road overlays, and those regulations also apply. As you can see, there are wetlands and grand trees on the parcel. Wetlands are proposed to be impacted. The removal of grand trees will require approval from the Board of Zoning Appeals site design. The surrounding properties are a mix of limited business and S3 zoning in Charleston County. With a concept plan, I always like to remind you that should you choose to approve the concept plan, you're approving it the concept plan only. If approved tonight, the applicant has to return to TRC, the Technical Review Committee, for review of the preliminary plot and road construction plans. The road construction plans provides review by stormwater, engineering, traffic and transportation, parks, ADA, fire marshal, zoning and planning, GIS too. GIS. And those departments will review the plans to ensure that all the requirements for all the codes are being met, including the Stormwater Design Standards Manual, and will be approved by TRC only if they are found to meet all the necessary requirements. The city's Technical Review Committee, TRC, has reviewed and approved the conceptual subdivision for compliance with city standards for a concept plan, and the staff's recommendation is for approval.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to? Thank you, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to speak before the commission this evening. Again, my name is Ellis Leesman. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Levi Grantham. I've given you a packet of information because I want to let y'all know a little bit of the iceberg that's underneath the water as far as this project is concerned. It goes back a long, long time. So as I believe that Anna already mentioned, this property is part of the Folly Road corridor. So behind tab 1, you can see that colored map, and you can see sort of the triangular parcel that is indicated in the hatch, which is again indicating to you that this is part of the Folly Road corridor, which has a couple of implications, again, indicating that infill development is appropriate, indicating that there is an intention for there to be a mixture of uses or that it have at least a commercial component. And that this property is within that overlay. These particular parcels are often referred to as the Moultrie property or the Moultrie parcels. Behind tab 2, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see an order from Judge Michael Scarborough, who's our master in equity here in Charleston County. He has had a quiet title action pending in his court relating to these parcels since 2014. And so many of you may know a lot of the issues that are involved with heirs property, where due to perhaps some inconsistency in records, that it's necessary for there to be a proceeding in order to confirm ownership and then allow for the proper owners of a given parcel to be recognized. The parcels here that are owned by the Moultrie family, standing alone, have some irregular shape. But when they're brought together as an assemblage, they become something that's useful. There are more than 60 members of the Moultrie family that are recognized as heirs for this property. The order that's behind here at tab 2 includes the recognition that there being 60 plus owners, it's not possible to divide up these irregularly shaped parcels in a way so that all of the owners could get a portion. So where we've been in this matter for 6+ years is that the heirs have wanted to sell this property. It's zoned limited business. And we've been working, both my client and a prior applicant, to get through the TRC process with a property that complies with all of the zoning requirements, the drainage requirements, the traffic requirements. But so that you all know, the Moultrie family and those heirs, those are the owners of the property, and those are who will benefit from when this property can close upon approval of preliminary plat. And they will receive life-changing money in exchange for the purchase of their property. But let me add a little something there. The property's zone limited business. The property taxes on these parcels are about $17,000 a year. That's a lot of money. The reason that the city charges that much money in property taxes is because limited business is a valuable zoning classification. That's what this property has been. That's what it is. And the city, year after year, collects about $17,000 in property taxes, recognizing that that's what this property is. So what you have before you, ladies and gentlemen, is a concept plan that, as Ms. Jackson noted, is a by right use of a limited business property for which the city has classified the property and for which the city has taxed this property. Now, as you can imagine, it's difficult for ordinary folks to pay $17,000 a year in property taxes. When my client got this property under contract in 2020, there were tens of thousands of dollars of property taxes in arrears. My client paid those taxes so that this property was not lost at that time to a delinquent tax sale. And since 2020 through the present, my client has continued to pay those property taxes on behalf of the Moultrie family so that we could get this through to this point and to preliminary plat approval. But again, you're looking at a property that's been taxed, it's been collected as a limited business property, and those taxes have been paid both by Willie Moultrie for years and my client for the past 6 years. And again, what's happening today, it's after a lot of effort. We're coming before you to ask for approval of a concept plan that, as Ms. Hart and Mr. Morgan would confirm, complies with all of the city's requirements. So you could be wondering what takes so long. If you just look at tab 3, and Mr. Chairman, this is an important agenda item. I just would ask for your indulgence. I may.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. But I'll try to keep myself as concise as I can. One of the particular challenges of this set of parcels is that they are designated as a special protection area. So what that involves is that the city's stormwater management department has indicated that this is an area that deserves and that merits heightened restrictions. So there's a particular part of the manual, and you can see, we're under the 2020 manual as to when the planning of this parcel started. These are the strictest, most heightened, strongest flooding and drainage restrictions that can apply to any property in the city of Charleston. In short, and it's taken me a while to understand it, as I mentioned, Mr. Reed Walters is here and can provide some further explanation. But in essence, it's this. When you're dealing with drainage and stormwater, there are two things you're thinking about. What's the amount of water that's exiting the property, and how fast, how quickly is it exiting the property? And what these special protection area requirements require is that in terms of that rate, the rate at which the water is leaving the property needs to be reduced by 50%. So if you have a situation where you're getting a ditch where the water is coming in too quickly and it might overtop, what the city has required through 7 rounds of technical review is to ensure that this project reduces that peak discharge rate by 50%. Furthermore, it also requires that rather than all that volume of water being released into the ditch system on James Island, that you be able to hold the water on site for a 24-hour period, meaning that as water can clear, you're storing the water on site essentially through a reservoir that controls the release of that water in the terms of a timing. So not only has the rate, the speed at which it is leaving the property reduced, but also by the amount is significantly reduced to comply with these regulations. And that's why this project is actually a drainage improvement in the area. And you don't have to take my word for it. Matt Fountain, Kinsey Holton, former employee of the city, everyone in that department has gone through it. And so if it doesn't meet these requirements, it doesn't get through TRC. It's not before you in the form of a concept plan. Behind tab 4, ladies and gentlemen, there was a prior buyer. The prior buyer could not get compliance with the strict and stringent special protection area requirements. This was a plan by Catalyst Builders, and it was not able to go through. And so all the heirs that entered a contract with this company, that contract had to be abandoned because the compliance could not be reached. Behind tab 5 is a deed whereby Levi Grantham, the applicant before you, had 3 additional parcels, which is the parcel that you just zoned a few minutes ago, conservation. By bringing those 3 acres into the picture with this assemblage and devoting them entirely to open space and to drainage infrastructure, a pond, that special protection area compliance is able to be met. So in terms of the folks that are here that are concerned about the flooding plan, that's what this is about. Not only is it an attractive area with a pond with grand trees, it also serves as a reservoir to allow for this property to improve the drainage condition in the area, again, by reducing the rate and reducing the volume of the water as it leaves the site. So of course, this is something that takes away land. Those 3 acres otherwise could have been used for some purpose. They could have been developed for some purpose, but they're being devoted specifically to drainage and to open space so that this project can meet those stringent requirements. So that's how the current applicant was able to bring this property and to make it so that it could in fact be purchased from the Moultrie heirs because it's useful and it can be used for a purpose that's recognized under limited business zoning. Behind tab 6, others, Mr. Morgan, that are with the city that you all can trust because you can't do all that on your own. And you know that that process has happened before it comes to you. Again, with extensive modeling and analysis, where there will be sidewalks that will be part of this project. There will be a drainage pipe that will be added under Grimble Road in order to assist for the flow of water more efficiently to the downstream receiving water bodies. There are a lot of other benefits to this project that have been outlined behind tab 7. When we proceeded to annexation before the city council, a lot of the same issues that were brought up to you, ladies and gentlemen, tonight were brought up to city council. Now, they voted 8-1 to annex this parcel, and for a lot of these reasons. Again, the drainage improvements, the traffic improvements, and all of the things also being compliant with the applicable zoning. But that's set forth behind tab 7, tab 8. You heard about traffic. So the project did have a traffic study done. I know that was a question that was presented to the commission and to the applicant tonight. Here's a copy of that traffic study. And as you go behind tab 9, you'll see that SCDOT, as you all know, that's who manages and approves encroachments or entrances onto state roads like Gripple Road and like Folly Road, approves the TIA, traffic impact analysis. It's approved with no external mitigation required. So the traffic has been studied in compliance with the city's ordinance. It has been approved by the city and by SCDOT. But let me give you a little bit of additional information and assurance. If you flip behind that email, you'll see a picture of a stoplight. Seems like an ordinary stoplight, but this is important because this intersection is now signalized. So as far as concerns about safety and speed, this within the last several years has become a signalized intersection so that there is a stoplight. So you would not be expecting to see those excessive sorts of speeds that are coming towards that stoplight. Again, if you look to the overhead behind that picture of the stoplight, you'll also see that the intersection itself has been improved. There are turn lanes on Folly. There are also turn lanes that have been added to Grimble Road, both on the Stono River side and I guess what I call the Charleston Harbor side of Folly Road as far as that goes. So this is separate from this project, an intersection that has now a stoplight, has turn lanes, and is not viewed as a traffic issue. Based on that traffic study with these improvements, you will see that the traffic is not a concern and that has been analyzed. Behind tab 10, again, is the current plan for the project. If you look at the city's zoning standards, they allow for multifamily, which townhouse project would be considered multifamily. This is behind tab 13. I skipped a couple. They allow for the minimum lot size for a townhouse unit or a multifamily unit to be 2,250 square feet. So what that equates to, ladies and gentlemen, is up to 19 units per acre. If you take the square feet that are in an acre, which is 43,560, you divide that by 2,250, you get 19.3. Now, there are a lot of reasons why no one yields that amount of density, right? Because of parking or other requirements. But that is as high as you can go and as far as you can go, you can get up to 19 units. This project, again, is 67 units over roughly 14 acres, as Ms. Hart mentioned. So that's about 6 units per acre. So that's what you're looking at in terms of density, and it's an allowed and appropriate use. Across the street on Grimble Road is an apartment complex, Spyglass Seaside. There are also businesses, and there's a church that are along Folly Road. And again, this is part of the Folly Road corridor. So this is something that's been designed and analyzed and redesigned strictly in compliance with all of the applicable regulations. Behind tab 11, you'll see the scorecard for TRC indicating that the project did pass TRC in December of 2025. And that was again waiting for the annexation to be approved. Because as I mentioned when I stood up before, the annexation and the ability to have this project in a single jurisdiction is viewed as beneficial to it being split. Behind tab 12, and I might speak about this in a rebuttal as needed, there are answers to the various concerns that have been made. And behind tab 14, I just want to mention to y'all, again, there are 60 plus multi-rows. They're represented by Jonathan Altman. They're represented by Charlene Green. They're represented by John Dodds. They've been represented by Paul Tinkler for some time, by Lawrence Hershon. And we've worked together. We've renegotiated this contract to allow for the purchase price to be increased and to allow for the earnest money to be increased. And the heirs are asking, and as you can see from these letters to the mayor and to the members of council, they have asked for this plan to be approved, for this annexation to be approved, and for this to go forward. Again, when you have 60+ owners in a quiet title situation with property taxes of $17,000 per year, you have a delicate situation. And so what you have before you is something that folks have waited decades for, that Judge Scarborough has been working on since 2014. My client's been working on it since 2020. And it's come before you again with compliance with the staff's recommendation, and it will benefit and will not harm the community. Again, looking at the traffic analysis, the stormwater analysis, the engineering analysis. I know that not everybody likes it. I understand that that's our day and age. You're gonna get folks that don't like things. But again, y'all's purview and your job is to make sure that the city's done its job. Has it performed the proper review? Has it looked at the issues that it's required to review? Does this comply with the available zoning? And when it does, the planning commission is able to confirm that the necessary work has been done and it's appropriate for these owners and this applicant who have worked and invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in preparing this plan, that it should, and we would request that it meets with your approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application? Ms. Jackson, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, it's really, I'm not in favor. I wish that this development had not had opportunity years ago, as Mr. Leesman cataloged to you. And I really appreciate that Ms. Harp went the extra mile as you all were introducing that item into the agenda. I think there are many members of the community here who probably never thought about, you know, a decision about like this for subdivisions, and what is the concept plan compared to what is the permanent final approval process and all of that. So I was hoping that you might go the extra mile, Mr. Chairman, and re-explain. I mean, I know that your hands are essentially tied in terms of once you get a staff approval, that all of the, we called it the checklist items of a concept plan for a subdivision have been met satisfactorily to the staff work that, you know, is legitimate and as detailed as they're allowed to be at a concept level. So I know that once the planning commission receives that recommendation, that all the items have been accomplished and met to the extent that they are today ready to go into a fully or site plan approval process, that there's really no wiggle room that the planning commission has to make a
You said it better than I could.
So that's why I'm here at this moment on the agenda. I'm not in favor of this development, but I know that there's really nothing that you all are able to do unless there is some missing item that has not yet been you know, approved at the TRC concept level. And I think Ms. Hart made it clear that all the items have been satisfied. I really think it would help the public to understand more about why your hands are tied and that this is, you know, part of the law that the state of South Carolina authorizes and enables local municipal governments to go through in order to have the land used satisfactorily to our community. But it really is very confusing to people who are waking up, you know, in the morning, reading the paper and seeing their neighborhood turned upside down. And I know that Mr. Leesman is very professional, and I'm sure he's done a great job of tabbing and, you know, detailing and explaining all of the things that have been agreed to or approved at the concept level. Everyone knows that traffic studies are not worth the paper that they're produced on at this moment in our state's history. Because the roads fail all the time, they can't say, well, this is going to make it worse because it's already bad. And I live on Folly Road in the summer, and I go out of my way to avoid Folly Road. I go back through the neighborhood, go out left at a stoplight in order to leave my neighborhood safely. I know that that's what this neighborhood is doing. And I know that there's a stoplight there, but it's not adequate. It doesn't provide for the safety that everyone's going to be in fear of as traffic leaves this community. So I think if you could just maybe ask for a more extensive deliberation or explanation of what it is that was reviewed during the concept approval process with TRC, that at least people would know that it really is not a unique decision that you can be making tonight. Thank you very much.
We'll get more information as we go on about what we can and can't do with subdivision requests. And so I appreciate you making that point as well. Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
I
you for your
appreciate
time.
it. Thank you.
Anyone else? A little confusing, but anyone else in favor of this application? Yes, sir.
I'm Reed Walters. I'm the civil engineer. I'm with LJA. I don't have anything too specific to say right now, but I just wanted to kind of get up in front of y'all real quick, introduce myself, especially if anyone else here ends up having any questions I could help with. I just want to make it clear that we've put an inordinate amount of time and effort into this project to make it the best we can and to study it as closely as we can. I think I like to take pride to go the extra mile and kind of thing. I've been out on Brimble Road. I've walked in the ditch from the property down, back around. I have pictures of every single culvert on that road, walk the property. And it's something that we really care about and try to take into consideration when we design this sort of thing. This design is a little different than it looked a couple years ago because we've changed things. Try to be more considerate of the land as how it is and to come up with a better finished product that really incorporates what a unique site this is. I mean, there are some really beautiful trees out there right now, and we've changed things around, trying to move them from being a side note that's something that we built around to something that we can kind of focus on. So I just, want to introduce myself real quick and just let you all know if you have any questions.
Thank you, sir. And I'm sure that as comments get up, we'll ask you all to answer questions at the end. Thank you too, sir. Anyone else in favor of this application? Ms. Moore, Ms. Harp, I'm sorry. Do we have comments sent in favor of the application?
This point.
So yeah, you all were sent the comments.
Right. And I'm just asking in favor of the application.
And then they are,
Just for the record.
yeah, so if we summarize them, and in reference to this, there were 147 comments that came in reference to this. There were 2 comments in support of the project. There were 102 comments in general opposition to 91 comments in opposition to the subdivision or subdivision zoning, citing traffic concerns on Folly Road and Brimble Road extension. 20 comments in opposition to the subdivision or subdivision zoning, citing stormwater concerns in the area. 2 comments not opposed to development of the site, but think the scale is too large. That's a kind of summation.
No, I
And again, we'll have the full text of all
No,
the
we,
comments.
just so everyone knows, we got those and the commission members read them so that those folks can't always be at the meetings, but we do hear what they say and listen to what they say and read what they say. So anyone else or someone else in favor of the application, anyone in opposition to the application? Yes, sir. Come on up. All right. You've been very patient. Thank you.
Well, I don't have that ADHD, so I'm not doing that actually. So it's Adam Friend. I live on James Island. I started the Woodland Shores Road Coalition. And I'm basically an advocate for our area. I've been here since Hugo. I realize what Carol said is accurate, that, I knew when I came here, there's very limited impact that we're gonna have at this point. I'd like to make a time machine though, and I would like to be able to go back to the 90s and sit down with Mr. Riley and tell him a lot of the things that he's doing has led us down the road that we are now in. And fortunately, development has been winning and winning and winning in Charleston, South Carolina. My frustration is that this particular parcel, I understand if there's 60 people that are involved. This is a very convoluted situation here. And usually I believe in God has a funny way of making things happen like that. I believe this has been a difficult task to have happen because I think it may not be in our best interest to have this happen. Stormwater modeling, Dale Morris and I became close because of my own property that floods a lot. And I think most of you know Dale Morris, and I believe he probably was the guru in the United States of America when it comes to
flooding and hydrologists' points of view. And I listened to him a lot, and I asked him about this current stormwater mitigation that we're doing and how it's so stringent. He just always reminded me that it's only as good as the data we put in it. And no matter how much we think we have an understanding of what the 100 years and what events are going to be calculatable, I think it's pretty obvious that Mother Nature has her own ability to just make us remind us that we really are just ants. So with that being said, if you look at the water plan, which we spent millions of dollars on at the city level, did any of y'all look at it in proportion to this exact area? What did you see surrounding this entire, it's like, that's an island. What's on it all around it? Specialized flood zone designation. So basically we're taking the island, the one part that looks like it's not on that map, and we're going to take that porous surface area off of it. So just stop and think what that means. We're taking the one little area that right now is a protected porous high area, and we're going to put concrete on it. I just don't see how that would ever make a lot of sense for us to do. So there's that. So we can say we're going to meet the criteria that the floods are going to do. I say you're wrong and you won't be right, and it'll be done. So then it'll be too late. So it'll just be another added issue that the Charleston people have to deal with. Traffic, like Carol said. Do any of you drive around here, or do you all have the luxury of just sitting at home? I just need to know, because anybody who's not paying attention and getting on roads here doesn't see how far gone we are. We're not going to change anything because we live in a unique place. It's the low country. I mean, you can't come here from Ohio or New Jersey or anywhere else and try to bring your ideas to how we're going to do things, because we are unique. New Orleans and us, about the only two that I can think of that are on the same page. We have narrow roads lined with grand trees. Are we going to just get rid of all the trees? Is that our goal? Are we going to get rid of what we're known for in the low country? So my point is, we're not going to change this infrastructure. This infrastructure that we have was meant to be what we have. We weren't supposed to get this big. Not how we were designed, yet that's what we're doing. So, I'm just up here. I want to go on record. I want to be on the right side of history. It's not going to matter. We'll be dead, most of us, by the time it really comes to fruition. But I want us all to be on record to know that people saw this coming. People warned us that this is where we're going. You guys are in a unique position. I understand you can only do so much. You guys are appointed by city council, by the mayors. There tends to be if they check the boxes, we've got to move forward. Well, I say at some point, someone needs to stand up and say, here's the water plan. We paid millions for it. We see a parcel here that's now set for zoning. We've given it in 2000. Who knows when it was done? I don't know when this was zoned, how it was. But now we have a better idea of what we have with that. Should it have ever been zoned the way it is? Probably not. Where are we going to stand up and start to say, where do we look at property specific and say, we down zone? We now understand more than we did. Let's go back and look at the maps, and let's take the bold move and down zone. Because that's what we need to do here to have a chance to live. We all live here. We're getting pushed out faster and faster with every one of these developments. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. Anyone else in opposition? Yes, sir. Come on back up.
Sorry. Good evening again. Stuart Walters. I live, like I said, in the area, in the community, grew up in the community.
Give us your address just for the record. Your address just for the record.
1922 Grimble Road.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, so I want to start here. Like a neighbor of mine, I born and raised here in Charleston, South Carolina, grew up on James Island all my life. I was born and raised in this same area all my life. Went to school right across the street here at Buste Academy, graduated from Buste Academy, went on to the Academic Magnet, graduated from the Academic Magnet, went on to Johns Hopkins University, where I obtained a civil engineering degree. The whole goal, well, I went into civil engineering because I've seen the flooding issues of Charleston since I've been a kid. And it's always intrigued me. I always used to go down to the Battery, and when the storms come in, my parents would take us down to the Battery. We could see the water rise. It felt like we could touch it. Back then, it was exciting. The older I get, it's scary. So I went on, like I said, to become a civil engineer for the purpose of coming back to Charleston in order to protect the community in which I grew up in. So, with that being said, I'm not sure the developer's name, or who's representing the developer. I don't want to be disrespectful.
No, sir.
What's your,
Leesman.
sir?
Leesman.
Leesman, Mr. Leesman. I heard what you said about, I heard a lot of what you said, and respectfully, I disagree with some things. The main point, one of the points that you said the Moultrie family would be well compensated. The Moultrie family only makes up a small percentage of the community of which we live in. There's other people within that community, not just the Moultrie family, who aren't going to be compensated. There are also other people who are going to be negatively impacted by this development. Yes, the property may meet city requirements for the property itself. Once again, what about the outside community? What about the neighboring land, the neighboring parcels, right? So city review takes on city property, right? Doesn't necessarily take into much consideration of the property surrounding it, which is mostly county property. So with that being said, again, how is the city and the county coming together to mitigate these flooding issues? I understand what you said, Mike said, I didn't dive into the plan, so excuse me if I'm wrong here, but I believe I heard him say that there was going to be a pipe that comes across Gumbo Road Extension that conveys water downstream, right? But once again, the flooding on James Island in that area is largely due to the fact that it drains into the ocean, the creeks around there. So when the tide is high, obviously there's a tidal influence to the flooding. So when it doesn't, when it's the high tide and we have a rain event, the water ponds, literally ponds, and it'll sit there for, I know you said it's supposed to leave in 24 hours, and that water sits there for 2 or 3 days, right? And obviously I know that's a county issue, that's not something the city can deal with, but that, again, the development at the head of this road will impact flooding issues. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're done.
Okay, and from my understanding, this property that was annexed into the city, this had to be done. They had to have this in order for this project to go through. They had to have that property and they had to have it within the city limits so that it would be under one jurisdiction, which I do agree with from a maintenance standpoint. Dealing with the city and the county, that's a problem that no one wants to deal with. But that piece of property right there, they had to have that in order for this project to go through. So, and that size of that property helps maximize the number of units they can have, which in turn maximizes everybody's profit. So we understand from that standpoint that, once again, community is not being benefited from this project. We talked about the signal at Folly and Grimble Extension. That signal has been there for, I'll say, about 15 years now. And it hasn't, in the middle of the summer, from May through August, that signal doesn't help anybody, right? And adding more houses, adding more residents to this small area, especially at the head of the road, coming out of there, getting our kids to school, is going to be a hassle. I mean, it's going to get the traffic study I've analyzed plenty of traffic studies before. They don't say much, right? The only way that you could really impact traffic is limit the amount of residents coming in and out of a land, coming in and out of the community. That's the only way, right? So that being said, and I didn't see a concept for sidewalks on Grimble Road. I understand that there's sidewalks within this property. I didn't see any sidewalks on the Grimble Extension side of the road. I know there's sidewalks on the other side of Grimble Road, but there's also not a turn lane at Grimble Extension. There is no turn lane at Grimble Extension. There's a turn lane on the opposite side, on Grimble Road side. There's a turn lane, but there is no turn lane on Grimble Extension side. So something else I heard him say that just I didn't quite agree with, and I disagree with what my neighbor said. You guys do have you can help this. You can help our community. As city council members, we elected you guys to help. And we trusted you guys to protect us, the community. Charleston, who, especially the people who've been here for, families have been here for over 200, 300 years. We have entrusted you guys to save us in a situation like this. The fact of the matter is James Island is populated, it's overpopulated, it's saturated. And continue to bring more residents is not the solution. Now, I don't disagree with development. I work for a contractor, so I'm a part of I've been on the opposite side of these debates and these conversations. But from that standpoint, I understand both sides. And the only thing I think that needs to transpire first, if this development were to happen, right? If we can't stop this, the first thing that we need to address is the flooding on the existing roads and the existing areas and the traffic in the existing area. Until that takes place, I just don't see how it's fair and how it's possible to continue with this project.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming out. Appreciate it. Anyone else? And everyone knows, we get the applicant's taking notes, the SAR's taking notes. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can that you'll bring up. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, hi, thank you. Ron Walters again. I live on River Road Extension, 1661 Old Military. And there are some things that I agree with, again, not to be disrespectful, but we know that Mr. Leisman is working for the client. So he's going to do his best. We need someone to work for us. So, and we know that his client invested, he's expecting to get something out of it. He's not doing this just to be doing it. I'm not exactly sure about taxes, but I do know most of this property is inhabited. There's no housing, no construction, so the property taxes are not that high. Now, he's speaking of $17,000 over the years, yes, but not just in 1 year. That's not true. If it's zone limited business, I was taking notes. Why is it a commercial consideration? And that's the head of the road. As the water exceeds the property, where is it going? I know if it's going to go across the road, they're going to have to where's it going to go from here? If they're going to take that storm water and they're going to do some type of underwater piping, where's that water going to go? And who's it going to impact? Whose property are they going to ask for? Grimble Road, and I just found this out, it is a part of an association. We've never been contacted by this development. Never, ever. Never. And we've been fighting, I know I've been fighting to represent my community for a long time down at City Hall. And I always leave deflated, like there's nothing going to happen, that I don't have recourse, that the citizens, the residents are just doing. Then he's in the paperwork, it says, what live work units. What is that? Is that affordable housing? Going back to that. Some of these 60 Moutry ears, I grew up in that area, and 60 of those folks don't live there. So they're going to benefit. Are they going to be living in some of these live work units? The other question I have, I hope and pray, again, I know the trickle down effect is the city of Charleston has approved it, but I'm not exactly sure they've performed their proper reviews. Because I do believe that it's going to impact the infrastructure, traffic, flooding. Again, there's sidewalks, we need it. Where is it going to go? Where is it going to start, and where is it going to end? That's important to us. More traffic, and I'm an avid walker. I walk Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays. Do 3 miles, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I cannot walk down River Road Extension because of the traffic and the speed. So I have to go to an area where there's sidewalk down Secessionville, and that's where I walk. I'm leaving my neighborhood. And again, I don't believe the traffic study during peak hours, seasonal, May through again September. The traffic is horrible. And River Road Extension is a cut through. And the folks that cut through have no respect for speed or the residents there. There's one turning lane and it turns left to get onto River Road Extension, and that's it. There's no turning lane for anything else. And, think I covered it. These are just concerns that question needs
Yes, ma'am.
to be answered. And again, you all have approved it. Again, I feel we're doomed, but we're asking you to go back and ask this developer to go back to the community. We're not here to stop them. But again, we do not want to be left with the burden or suffer the consequences for 67 townhomes and also commercial properties.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else in opposition would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Palmer. I live the opposite on the South Brimble Road, 1613 Cushing Road, off of Brimble Road. So I had a concern about the waterway, how they're going to do that. So if you're going to do that, is it some part of Brimble Road is going to be digged up? And if so, how that traffic is going to go? I live on the opposite side. There is a turning lane, but there's not a turning light. So when the light turns green, you're either you have a turning lane that turns right. And there's not a turning light, there's a turning lane. When you go across, you have to wait, whoever's going across, you have to wait. You also have a school, so you have buses. So once you get to a certain point, eventually traffic on Brimble is going to be to a halt until either you're gonna turn right, you still have to wait. So there's not a turning light, but there is a turning lane. So that makes a difference. When you talking water, is that going to develop where the water started going to down on Folly Road, certain sections? Is that water is going to build up? And also with water building up on the road and staying here, mosquitoes. You get more mosquitoes when water sits for a long period of time. So now we do more mosquitoes, mosquitoes carry germs. So I just have more concerns on how this development. You're gonna do the underground, that's gonna dig up the road, how's that gonna be traffic on that side? And especially during the summertime, on the road, even we have a traffic light. I still can't get out of Brimble Road, South Brimble, because people still block it going down to the beach during the summertime. So that's my concern. And
Thank you, ma'am. We'll try to get you some answers. Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Anyone else in opposition?
I think you should clarify, you guys are not elected officials.
that's what I was about to say.
I mean, I like, you look like you could be.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I was gonna do that as we moved on. We're appointed by Charleston City Council. We're not elected. Anyway, just so everyone knows that. But anyway, anyone else in opposition to this application? If not, we'll let the applicant try to respond to some of the questions, answer some of the questions that were brought up as engineer, whoever else.
Thank you, sir.
Let's wait a minute.
Okay,
Ms. Harris, you have a question?
well, I was told to wait, so I'm gonna wait.
If it's something that, okay, Ms. Harrison, go ahead.
I did have a question and it pertains to the distinction between the 2019 and this particular plan
Yes.
and the addition of the 3 acres that is being annexed. My unit count on this shows about 63 from 2019 and y'all are doing 67.
Yeah.
And this 2019 plan could not get approved at concept, could not get conceptual approved, could not come before this board in 2019. But then the stormwater rules changed. How much of a significance does that addition of that 3 acres add to the create the differential in where the water flows? Because I believe that 2019 plan had they couldn't meet the 24-hour standard by 1/100th of a second.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison. If I might, I'm going to answer that question the best detail I can. I did want to clarify one thing. The pipe that goes underneath Grimble Road is already installed. It's already there. So I misspoke about that. It's there. It will be improved in its function as a result of the ditch work and other things like that. But I misspoke. That's a new pipe. That's an existing pipe. There are also existing pipes underneath Folly Road. Ms. Harrison, to your question. So Catalyst Builders tried various iterations of that prior design to try to get it to work. I don't represent them. I've never spoken to them. I believe if they had gotten that close, there would have been a way for them to get through and to get it done. But because they were also hundreds of thousands of dollars in, and they went from having an opportunity to having nothing. So I don't believe that they were that close, and there were various iterations. They recognized that the potential density on the parcels that they had under contract was 107 units. They had 63 on there, again, trying to shrink it, and try to get the compliance that they were never able to achieve. So again, the addition of the 3 acres is what allows for this stormwater facility that when you look at the information and the calculations, you're looking at taking 300,000 gallons of water and preventing that from going directly into the ditches that are in the area. That's the amount of water that those can store. So I'm not an engineer. I know you already know that, but our engineer is here, and basically what it allows to do, the more that you store on, because again, think about from a property owner, that otherwise might be more units if this were not a special protection area, but it's not. It is drainage, it is infrastructure, and it is for the benefit of the community, because what basically this property owner is doing, they're giving up otherwise high ground that's developable in order to meet the city's requirement that you hold all this water on behalf of this area. So it is basically reducing the density. It is giving away property, again, to comply, to have to do it. But it is something that is basically taken from this property owner so that they can make sure that the special protection area designations are met. And I appreciated listening to Mr. Friend's comments. I did want to talk about one thing about that. This is not the only special protection area. So if I made it sound like this was the only one, that's not accurate. Almost all of James Island, due to its flooding concerns, has been designated as a special protection area. As you ladies and gentlemen know, you got Town of James Island, you got the City of Charleston, you got unincorporated Charleston County. Everything that is unincorporated Charleston County has been designated as a special protection area. But the issue is, these designations didn't exist in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, when a lot of the neighborhoods and things were initially laid out. They do exist now. So now these standards have to be met. But when a lot of the existing homes were built and shopping centers, et cetera, they didn't exist. And so it's not possible to go back and impose those requirements on existing homeowners and existing business owners. So that's part of why, to get a new project, the hurdle is that much higher. And the hurdle's been met here based on giving up all of this land, open space with recessed areas. So a lot of the property, plus you have a wetland here that's nearly an acre that continues to absorb water. So you can see that a significant part of the site stays, everything that's in green is open space. So there was discussion about the sidewalk. That's shown here on the concept plan along Grimble Road, because it is recognized that the current pedestrian condition of Grimble Road leaves some things to be desired. And this was something that the city negotiated for and obtained. You know, if you go back and you look at historical plans, you won't see that sidewalk on all of them, but it is on this plan, and it is what is before you for approval. So again,
This shows the end of your property, just to make sure I understand
How
that.
far is the
yeah, because that's the only property that we could control. You know, there's the next property is owned by somebody else, but the city probably could work with that property owner potentially to build a sidewalk, but my client can only build a sidewalk on property that they own.
Would they give money to the project? Would they consider doing that out of goodness of their heart to say, okay, we're gonna improve the
Yeah.
sidewalk on this?
You know, and so you have to keep in mind that I don't know that that property owner even wants anybody walking on their property, right? So you have to keep in mind that everybody has private property, right? So when you look at this, look at my clients already donating this acreage for drainage and is going to pay for this sidewalk, which is not required, but the city wanted it. So, you know, and then additional sidewalks along Folly Road and all these sorts of things. You know, that's what I can talk about. I can't speak about hypotheticals because I don't know that this property owner wants a sidewalk on the property.
But you didn't meet with us to find out.
I met with Carol Jack.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead, ladies and gentlemen, if you would, again, we're not going to go back and forth. Let's let him speak. If there's questions afterwards, we may be able to address those, but we can't go back and forth. So go ahead, sir.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, we've been hiding in plain sight. You know, this project has been under application for 7 years, 5 years with my client. I've been in this room. I've met with Mr. Morgan, with Ms. Harp, with Mr. Holton, with Mr. Fountain. I've been to city council several times. And so, yes, Save James Island, they got a hold of this project and they put the internet machine and the Facebook machine into high gear. So there is that activity going on. But, you know, we're here and I met personally with Caroline Parker. If I misspoke and said Ms. Jackson, I apologize. But I met with Caroline Parker, who is the council member for this district. And candidly, she, you know, didn't have an issue with this project. And so, again, but you know, there are folks, and sometimes the reactions out of emotion, understood emotion. Sometimes it's out of ideology, and that folks feel like, Charleston, let's basically take up the drawbridge. Let's stop it. But you've got folks that have property. You've got folks that have stewarded the property for decades. It's a limited business property. Where the city through the Folly Road corridor would want for, and again, this is Folly Road right there. This is the sort of property, when you talk about the down zone properties like this, we're just requiring development to go further and further and further out. A planning concept is, well, let's have, when we're in the city and we're along a major corridor, that's where this type of project and product is appropriate. So again, I don't want to repeat myself or belabor it, but again, and I, you know, obviously I didn't bring the tax receipts with me, but I have hand delivered those checks to the city. This is property that's been limited business. And again, so the city treats it as such, and the city recognizes a certain set of uses that are allowed. Again, and that on this particular property would allow up to 19 units per acre. And as I mentioned, that there is an average of 6 with all the open space that's indicated. And again, I have listened carefully. And to Mr. Walters' point, yes, it was 2013 when that signal was installed and those turn lanes that are there. And so that's a well-maintained intersection. And the improvements that would be there are there. And so, yes, this does enter here right to the stoplight. And again, SCDOT has looked at it. And I just would want to close by saying that the city is like, they do work for the public. They don't work for the developers. I can tell you that right now, because I've met with them and I've worked with them, and all of them, they're hardworking people. And what they do is they make sure that these requirements are being met. And I think that sometimes people unintentionally might belittle what they do and might belittle their levels of skill, their commitment, and the processes that they follow, because I live it with them and I go through it, not just for this client, but for others. And I can personally attest, as could Mr. Walters and others that are involved, Mr. Reed Walters, that again, everything that needed to happen, that should happen, that could have happened, and above and beyond has happened on this project to make sure that it is compliant. And embedded in each one of those reviews is this going to negatively impact? Again, recognizing that people have the right to use their property for zone use, but all of these reviews and processes are based around making sure that it's not going to adversely affect other properties. And that's what the process is done, whether it's through flooding, through traffic, or all the other measures that are taken. So I appreciate y'all's patience with me and my my comments and my rebuttal. I hope that I've been able, Mr. Karish, to answer some of the issues that were brought up. As Mr. Walters mentioned, you know, we're here and we be available. This process is not over, as Ms. Jackson indicated. It goes through to a TRC post-concept plan approval process. And it goes through ultimately to where there's building permits. But again, This is to make sure that it meets all the requirements, and I would hope that it would meet with your recommendation for approval.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time and energy. So again, reiterate us, so we're about to close the public aspect. It's a quick question. I'll take it. I'm gonna get myself in trouble for doing that. What's the question, sir?
Yes. Yes, on Grimble Road extension on the right side with county, all the ditches everywhere where he was saying that they letting all the water out. It's all closed. So where the water going? My aunt house is getting flooded on just a regular rain and a high tide. I walked the county on the last side. I walked the county through the bushes, down the ditch about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
And I walked in from the Sectionville Road to the highway. There's a creek in the back, and the creek goes all the way back to Fort Lamar. But he got some ditches, and the ditches got closed from the church bought that property and put that big old mound in the back and closed all
Yes,
the
sir.
ditches.
We hear you. We'll try to get, I'm sorry. Give me your name just for the record, so.
William Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
1548 Grimble
Okay.
Road Extension.
And Mr. Lassaine's gonna ask that question, so thank you, sir. Appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. So we're gonna close the public aspect of this, but I was gonna ask Ms. Harp to again reiterate where would this goes from here after the night? It's approved, where does it go?
Yeah, so the concept plan was
And-
reviewed, as I
And
mentioned.
where,
by-
and if you would, what's already been dissected before we got here? Thank you.
Yes. So the concept plan is reviewed by TRC, the Technical Review Committee. We received the application, and then, as mentioned, it's 8 departments who review it. So you will review it to make sure, and again, it's a concept. They don't have to show 3 lines. What they're looking for, what the concept plan is looking for is the maximum number of lots that they can develop. Lines don't have to be shown anything. So they have to show that in concept, the stormwater can be met, traffic is met. The parks, the trees where they're going to place, lights, street trees and street lights are required. Where are they gonna place those? Sidewalks are required for any TRC project, so show the sidewalks. The density, what is the maximum density that is required or that is permitted by the base zoning, by the overlay, by any type of development that it is taking place in that location. That's how the density is, I took notes too. They give us rights of way section, how they're going to, what is the right of way gonna look like? 60 feet is the minimum right of way. What is it gonna have sidewalks and trees and the 20-foot minimum pavement width that is required for fire protection and emergency services. They have to provide letters of availability from all utilities and cable, telephone and things like that to show that they are willing and able to provide services to this area based on the number of lots that they are they're showing. So that is all that, and then they have to go into the stormwater regulations and see what is required for the concept plan. As Mr. Leeson said, I'm not an engineer, so I know exactly what they look at. I know it's.
That's
Yes, and I was gonna say, there's some that, some reports are 3,000 to 5,000 pages, and they look at those numbers. Again, I know exactly what they look at. I don't wanna know, because that is, and they spend a lot of time reviewing that. So after that, it goes through many iterations. This one started in 2021. So the TRC ID number, which is the number on our system, is a 2021. So we've been going through this since 2021. So after the concept plan is approved, we're gonna talk about a different one. It's approved by the planning commission. It comes back to TRC for preliminary plat and road construction plans. Preliminary plat is when you go down in the nitty gritty of the plans. Those you look for lot size. Do they meet the parking requirements? Are the setbacks gonna be met? Are there gonna be any tree impacts? Is the lot frontage met? The street, like a plot, no, not the plot. The addresses, how are they going to, how is it gonna be addressed, the names of the roads? So every little detail is looked at. And then for stormwater, I know they will look at the drainage easements. Are they wide enough to meet the requirements? And then along with the preliminary plat goes the road construction plans, and that is even deeper. That's when they go into everything, every little detail, is it gonna be like the sidewalks are accessible? Are the everything does it have a secondary access for the fire marshal? Can the trash trucks go through them? Let me see what else did I put in here. And as I mentioned, the sidewalks are required for every TRC project. In this case, this is on Folly Road overlay. There's a multi-use path that is required on Folly Road. So those things, and again, John is here, he's one of our engineers. If you have any questions about that, he can answer those, but I can tell you like generally, those are, and they provide, every department provides comments, and sometimes those comments could be in the 100.
So everyone knows, City of Charleston hires tremendous amount of expertise and engineers and everything else. And they have no vested interest in any project. They dissect the heck out of it. I have contractor friends of mine say, I wish he didn't work in the city, do work in the city, because they beat him to death, which is good. I said, that's good that they beat you to death. They work you with coals. So anything else was hard?
No, it's like, trying to think what else, and only once everything has been met, every requirement has been met. So usually the preliminary plat goes first, because the preliminary plat is just setting the lines for the lots. I just say just, but it is just setting the lots. The road construction plans take a lot longer, because that is when the in-depth.
So this is
place.
not finished. This is gonna go a long, how long do you think the process is gonna take?
It depends on the plans that we receive. Sometimes the plans are not great, so they go back and
On
they
average, 6 months, a year?
take 6 months to a year.
Okay. Okay.
So it's still, and
It's gonna be
sometimes,
dissected more and more.
yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, thank you. That's gonna close. Anything else, Ms. Harp? I don't want to interrupt. That's gonna close the public aspect of this. Mr. Hussein, do you have a question?
Yeah, I think a number of, obviously, a lot of the comments from the public and Mr. Leesman did a great job as a layperson, which I am as well, talking about the stormwater. But I would appreciate if the engineer would sort of just give conceptually where this project will drain and how. So we all understand where the water flows are on this part.
Any slides you need, anything you let us know, so we can pull up anything you need.
Yeah, of course. I'm more than happy to go through this. Like I said, I've been involved in this project for a number of years as well. So I'm very familiar with this. So essentially, this property is at the top of a larger basin. The city of Charleston, I don't know exactly how long ago, went through and defined a lot of basins for essentially the entire area of the city of Charleston. So we use those as our kind of baseline to determine where water is going and what area we need to study, right? So essentially, there are 3 areas that water really leaves the area of the site. There's existing drainage infrastructure on Folly Road. And then there's Grimble, which can either go this way or this way. So that's what, east or west, right? It kind of goes, it varies depending on the stage of the storm and all that. There's a lot of kind of more complicated hydrology. So depending on the severity of the storm, it may favor one direction or the other. Folly Road has a piped system that goes down a decent ways past Seaside Spyglass Apartments into Seaside Creek. This Grimble also has a pipe right here that goes down. It kind of weaves through Spyglass. It also goes into the creek. Grimble goes down this way, and this is actually something I'd love to talk to you all about. So Grimble Road, I've read through the DOT plans for the original road. Grimble Road goes down, it goes down at a slight angle. Has a low point about, let's say here, that there's supposedly an outfall ditch for, that
There's not.
Is not, right?
There's
Which is something that, you know, DOT probably needs to have a conversation about. I've been having a conversation with DOT because some of these boxes in quality, I'm trying to get final survey on and they're full up with leaves. So DOT might need to get out there. But
Good.
continues to go down.
If you'll address us, I appreciate it, Commissioner. Thank you.
I'm sorry,
You're fine.
I'm
I
just
appreciate
encouraging this
your,
way
I
and that way.
appreciate your concern about the community. So,
Yeah, but Grimble continues to go down that way and then hits Old Military, goes down and goes down into Seaside Creek. So the whole thing eventually drains into Seaside Creek. There's, I believe, one or two large pipes under Old Military where it drains under there and then it's out into the harbor.
Okay, you're more, it sounds like you're more than willing with Mr. Leesman to meet with these folks and try to help solve problems as we go on. With this issue, if you have some solutions for them or something.
I mean, I'm more than happy to talk to everyone.
Okay.
I love this sort of thing. I love talking about it.
Yeah, I've got some background in stormwater management and, you know, you guys have done a commendable job with the on-site detention and this kind of multi-jurisdictional stormwater management is a problem that has come up in Charleston very frequently. It's hard to manage, have two different entities managing stormwater on both sides of the street. There is a delegation, it's the Charleston County Flood Prevention Task Force that deal with issues that overlap like this. They have a reporting tool, a website where you can report stormwater issues. Philip Sexton is, so you guys have talked with Philip about this? Okay, so he is kind of, you know, your voice. That's right, yep.
It's all about it.
Okay, great. Well, so have you reported these issues on Grimble then?
Woodland Shores, Rural Riverland Terrace area, but we work with them. They do so well. I mean, you guys, I mean, they
Yeah.
mean well, but what they can achieve is.
They're resource limited, but the louder your voice, the higher your prioritization. You know, they are working on addressing things like this, but it's slow. And unfortunately, that's just kind of the way it is for them right now. But there is some outlet for that. Anyway, I just want to encourage you to, you know, the on-site issues, you guys are going to go through TRC, probably be some incremental improvements of stormwater on this site. Downstream, I'm sure you'll get into capacity analysis, but there are other entities that need to be involved to manage this.
Well, Tim Henderson is over at
Sorry, I can't, we can't. Yeah, appreciate it. But let me do this. Because Jacob, you had a question, you go ahead.
I have a question for the engineer, just to make sure I understand this so you can explain it to the public. In our new stormwater guidelines, in any new development, the stormwater cannot impact any adjacent property. It has to be retained on site, managed on site, and then outflowed into these pipes. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct with both the 2020 version of the manual that's designed over and the 2025 manual that's released recently.
Okay, I think that's very important for the community to hear because prior to our new stormwater guidelines that were developed in 2020, developments just happened. And so everybody says they built this place and it floods our place. Nobody had to care prior to these guidelines. The unfortunate part we live in right now is there hasn't been anything in existence kind of long enough to show completely the benefit of like, we built this development with the new guidelines and we're not impacting stormwater because you still have, as Mr. Hirsch has mentioned, jurisdictional issues and old developments that don't function the way they function now. So I just wanted, if you could repeat that for the community about how you have to manage your water on site.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think, can I turn, if I'm addressing?
Well, yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, I think a really good example of this and something that's given me a lot of headache, I know on the site is, so there's this wetland here, right? That the previous engineer got a small amount of impact approved for, but there's a pipe here on Folly Road. So based on our analysis, what happens is Folly Road fills up with water. And that pipe actually, instead of receiving water from our site like you would think, it flows backwards and fills up our site with water. So we're essentially accepting water from the DOT road, it sits there, and then it flows back out into Folly. Under older manuals or state standards that a lot of counties are still under, there's not really any analysis required for that, and an engineer said, hey, we're gonna fill it and throw a parking lot on. And you would definitively see worse flow in the fall. The city of Charleston's enhanced standards require that we analyze this sort of thing and account for it, which I as much as difficult as it can be sometimes, I really respect. I think it does, you end up with a much more comprehensive analysis. There are challenges that are a little more unique to the low country. Obviously, upstate things like this are obviously a challenge. But in this case, things like this could be very important to the surrounding community. It's something that we do take into consideration in these agencies. Obviously, no analysis is perfect, but we do our best to be conservative. And with the enhanced standards, it also kind of compounds to that conservation, conservativity.
Great, thank you. Ms. Harrison, do you have a question of the engineer?
I did. So based upon like the Folly Road overlay corridor and the current zone, how much of green space is actually between percentage of your net acres, the net acreage that you have is actually going to be occupied by versus your open area? Basically, what's the ratio of what is still left open versus what is actually buildable?
So this, yeah, it's on here too. The green hatch the green pattern that's on that previous slide is, I believe it says up there, but it also,
right.
I think it's like 4 acres-ish.
Mm-hmm.
That's including ponds and everything like that. I don't know, Anna, is there an open space requirement?
Yeah.
For this zoning? I
Basically explaining that chart at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm asking. Because it is hard for the public to see.
Yeah, essentially this is saying, so we have the whole site and we're getting the net acreage, so we subtract the wetlands. And then that is our buildable area that we use to base the density, et cetera, off of. So that's how we calculate, max density, how many units we can get, that sort of thing. And then we're just proving that this plan is not, did not add them.
Said the number.
Okay.
What's the number of net buildable?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm asking you. Tell me the number.
I honestly don't know.
Okay. Mr. Hussein, did the engineer answer what?
He did.
Okay.
I'm not,
I think you're about
I don't have a
50-50.
great mind for exact numbers.
Okay.
Let's do, is it about 50-50? Where you've got 50?
Oh, like ratio open. I think
It's close.
It's like, I think 60-30-ish.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions to the engineer? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And thank you for you and Mr. Leisman's ability to be willing to meet with these folks, try to solve any other problem or answer any other questions as we go on. The public aspect,
Chairman, just to point out, the slide is illustrating the areas in green are the ponds, the non-built on areas. So you get a sense of the proportion of it that is not built on with housing.
okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Moore. So again, we've closed the public aspect. Commission members, any other questions, comments, motions?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve so that we can make some comments.
You're gonna say it again, say it again.
Making a motion to approve the subdivision sunset plan so that we can have some discussion among the public.
Okay, we can have discussion regardless. Go ahead. There's a second by Mr. Hussein. Any other questions, comments, or discussion?
Yes, and I would like to make a few comments.
Go ahead.
The top of my comment really has nothing to do with what was brought, except nothing technical that was brought up tonight, but in our comprehensive plan called the city plan, we spent a lot of effort in our cultural resources, identifying settlement communities and talking about how we were going to interact with the settlement communities as we move forward in development. And I think that's one little checkbox that needs to go on the TRC checklist because we failed in that regard right now. There should have been probably a larger conversation with your community based on the recommendations of that plan. And I'm sorry for that. So hopefully we can continue to do better. When I see it, I mention it, and I have seen it a couple of times where we just need to step up that everybody is on the page there. There was one comment that I would like to address in the printed comments that came in to us, because somebody was concerned that this wasn't going to be done right and it'll get past a certain stage and anything can be built there. And I think I really want to say that nothing can be built there that's not zoned or part of this concept plan or part of the preliminary plan. And what when they actually get their building permits and their construction permits, they can't just be willy-nilly about that at that point. I know that wasn't brought up here tonight, but it was said in our written comments, and I think that it's very important for people to hear that once they get their permit to build, they can't be willy-nilly. What's approved is what they have to do. I think we've addressed everything about stormwater that I wanted to address, but I would like to make one other comment so people understand this, because this is something I've learned. And I'm just a citizen like you that's appointed to this planning commission. I don't have any technical background, but I read those TRC reports. And Ms. Hart knows that because I'm constantly writing her and say, I don't understand this, tell me about this. And they are several hundred pages long sometimes, and the comments are several hundred. The staff does an amazing job of reviewing everything for all the details. And I look at those too to make sure that there aren't any further questions that we should ask here. The one thing I've learned about commercial property, because somebody said this is limited business, why don't they develop it commercially? The plan that's brought forward is a by right under the zoning. It says limited business, but in our limited business zoning, we allow for residential complexes to go on there. But the one thing that most people don't realize is that commercial development causes about, and I'm gonna make up a number, at least 10 or 20 times the number of traffic events that a residential property does. And I see the engineer shaking his head. And I've learned that because I live right next to a shopping center that behind it was built over 100-unit residential complex. And there's a little road that connects my neighborhood to this main corridor road. And there's no traffic on the side of the residence, but there's all this traffic on the side of the shopping center. So you do have day trips from a residential section, but a commercial development like a shopping center creates a lot more traffic than a residential complex would. And I think that's just sometimes a misunderstanding of people. So I wanted to make that comment for education, because I think part of our role here as commissioners is to teach the public what we learn about our zoning and planning, because it is very complex. And I appreciate all your comments tonight, and I've heard them.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. Any other questions or comments?
I think I have.
Ms. Harrison?
Okay. So yes, I think we have had this discussion multiple times. So this is such a nuanced issue when someone comes to us and asks us about these type of concept plans. And what Mr. Leeson is talking about is very true in terms of time. And what you will not see them walk away with today is a permit to go take the first top layer of soil off and to start digging and basically disrupt your day-to-day activities. Even when they get a preliminary approval, which is not, next week, it's probably most likely a year away, to almost 18 months probably. And that's an estimate. But in that regards, that's also a time for us as a planning commission and for communities and also staff to really work with people to understand how the process works. So by trade, I'm a lawyer, and there's nuances to all of these rules and regulations and statutes and ordinances. And one of the reasons why you may be feeling it never ever works when I come down here is because you feel as though this is already set, as though the rules have already been set, the approvals have already happened. This is all just perfunctory, and it does feel perfunctory in that sense that we're just checking a box off here. Well, one of the reasons why it feels that way is that this application is because of the way the statute is written. And it basically says that there are that it will receive automatic approval in 60 days if we take no action. So by having this public hearing process, by having us understand what the process was at TRC, this is also your opportunity to hear it. But nobody wants to hear, 1,000 pages of worth of information condensed down to 2 minutes. It doesn't make it. I think I'm smart, but I'm not smart enough to condense 1,000 pages worth of information into 30 minutes and try and teach everyone about what the rules are, what the formula is, how long the process takes, who's involved. It's a lot to digest. But at the end of the day, what you want to know is, A, was I heard? Yes, you were heard. B, what is going to be the impact to me? And how much is it going to impact my day-to-day experience? Will I be significantly inundated with water? What is that disruption? Because any activity in a development, it seems like it's a disruption, and it seems like it's an extended disruption. So I think that's what you really want to understand, is understanding what that process is going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now, and what buildings are going to look like. And all you see is a map and lines, and it doesn't, there's not that correlation between what is it going to look like, how's it going to benefit me, versus it just seems too much and I'm going to lose my peace and quiet.
Right. Go ahead.
So that's why you may feel as though it's perfunctory, but there was this other layer that no one really ever talks about, which is TRC, which is the technical stuff. And we need to start educating people about it, because technically all of this stuff is not only a part of our agenda packets, but it's actually a part of the permit section, where I, as John Q. Public, can actually see what the plans are that have been submitted over a particular time. But that's another discussion that can happen. And so I think what we should do is really start encouraging how we can inform citizens, so that when we get to this process, it doesn't feel that they are drinking from a fire hose on day one. And so that's my spiel on that.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison.
If I may have the privilege to add one thing to that, because it's also part of this agenda that you don't realize. What Ms. Harrison was saying about ordinances and everything, we have an ordinance on our agenda tonight. This commission sees ordinances that fix these problems down the road. But by the time people see the effect of this ordinance, they don't understand it. And that's why we spend a lot of time up here. I know Mr. Lassane has done this on numerous occasions, spoken with an educational tone about what we do, because we're planning. That means that something's going to happen 5, 10, 15 years down the road. But if we start seeing problems, then city council starts giving us ordinances to fix them. And we have them on our agenda tonight, not to fix the problems that you're talking about, but to fix a problem that may come down the road. And that's what this commission does. So I agree with Ms. Harrison, the education of our complexity of our city is very important. And I'm trying to do it at every commission meeting that I get to.
Thank you, Ms. Chief. Any other questions, comments, Commissioner?
I
Again,
do have a comment, Mr. Chairman, and my colleagues, forgive me, I kind of do this every time there's a controversial subdivision approval that comes before us. And that is that what we're being asked to render a judgment on tonight, and what we're going to be actually voting on, is not whether this project is a good idea. Frankly, we don't even vote on the opinion of the engineer about whether or not the stormwater manual is met. All we are rendering a judgment on is whether the staff's judgment is that this project at this point of the TRC process meets the city standards for subdivision concept approval. That's all we're voting on. Unfortunately, and Ms. Jackson put it much better than I could, we're too far down the road to be able to say this is a bad idea. And so what we're being asked to judge is whether or not this meets subdivision concept plan approval. And it's a frustration that I have that this process that is governed by state law, the city can't even change this. Ask the public to come to these meetings, come downtown, fight traffic, pay for parking, sit through a meeting for hours to have me sit up here and tell you there's nothing I can do about it. And it's very frustrating to me, I will tell you. Anyway, that's my position, and I unfortunately have to say this every time. and it's-
I appreciate it.
So, there you go.
It shoots the messenger too.
Yeah.
But again, we appreciate everyone's input. We listen to everything you say. We read every comment. Mr. Hussein says at the end of the day, we have a job to do based on what we're presented from staff that meets guidelines, and that's where our headache is sometimes, our job is, our headache is. So there's been a motion by Ms. Jacobs to approve this, seconded by Mr. Hussein. Any other questions or comments? Ask vote all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone in opposition? That's 6 in favor, none opposed. Again, we appreciate you all coming out. And you heard from the developer, you heard from the engineer, they're more than willing to continue to talk about this. So thank you all for being here. Next item on the agenda, we're gonna go back a little bit.
Rezones.
Rezonings. Number one is 993 and 995 Morrison Drive, Peninsula TMS 46.
If you want to just go ahead and do Thomas Island.
I'm sorry?
If you want to go ahead and do the Thomas Island subdivision, since you've already done one subdivision.
Let me go ahead and do the rezone. It's already reading the direction.
Okay.
Unless it's a big. Rezone, 95, 4611, 303, 101, 4611, 303, 0241. 6.43 acres. Request to remove the tech overlay district. It's the owner is Charleston County. It's Mr. Morgan. Y'all can, we apologize. We appreciate it. If y'all can step out, thank you. Ms. Morgan, you go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so you all may have heard a little bit about these properties and the discussions city council has had about potential purchase. What the county has been talking about them for many, many years, and affordable housing, all this kind of thing. And the city is moving forward with the purchase of a property that's further down the street now. But we want to work with the county to help kind of pre-plan this site to be a good site for workforce and affordable housing, as well as market rate housing and other uses. And one of the things that had been a stumbling block for that had been the tech overlay. And despite the fact that this is in a planned unit development, tech overlay still applied on this site. And so what we are proposing tonight, this is the city making this request, is that we remove the tech overlay from this property. And the tech overlay, as you all might remember, and again, I think you all know this property pretty well. The buildings have recently been torn down, and it's all kind of a big parking lot at this point. But in our comprehensive plan, it's in our city center area, so it is a location designated for the densest uses, the biggest buildings, that kind of thing. Here's some images of the property present. And then, of course, the tech overlay was designed to protect this area from, you know, having too much other use that was not tech oriented, because at that time we had not yet built the Charleston Tech Center. We were looking to make Morrison Drive a corridor that was very conducive to tech uses. It didn't prohibit residential uses, it just didn't let you have them be the dominant use on the site. And so by virtue of taking this away, you can still have mixed use on the site, but the residential aspect can become a greater part of it, which I think most people agree is probably the best use of it.
Thank you. Would anyone like to be heard on this item? If not, then close the public aspect. Commission members,
I'll move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Same moves for approval.
I'll second.
A second by Mr. Joyce. All, any other comment, questions? All in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone in opposition? 6 in favor, none opposed. Now we'll go to the other subdivision, number 1, Thomas Island subdivision, Anymore TMS 275, and a number of zeros, which I'll never get right. 5, count position 1, 14.41 acres. First concept approval, 38 lot conservation development. Ms. Hart.
Okay, so
Gentlemen, you must be here for that. I figured.
So the applicant is requesting subdivision concept plan approval of 14.441 acres as a conservation zone. The property is located on Clemens Ferry Road. The concept plan is proposing the creation of 38 single-family detached dwellings and the right of way to serve those lots. The proposed rights of way with the city standards for rights of way for conservation development. So the property is right there off Clemens Ferry. There's an aerial. It is in the low impact conserve. So a conservation development is what we would like to see there. A couple pictures of the site. And I'm gonna skip it to this one because it's a conservation development. And because we're still not used to those, we don't see too many. So the conservation development starts with a meeting with stormwater planning and zoning as to determine if the lot meets the intent of the conservation ordinance. After it is determined that the site meets the requirements, the basic requirements for conservation development, then there's another meeting that happens that shows like a bubble diagram. This is the highland area. This is where houses can go. We don't see anything. Nothing is shown as to where the lots are gonna go, how many lots are permitted, nothing, none of that. It's called a bubble
Copeland,
diagram.
always good to have you.
It's called a bubble diagram. They show the attributes such as trees, wetland, critical areas, archaeological sites to show, as well as a preliminary stormwater management summary detailing pre and post development runoff volumes for the site. See, I know a little bit of stormwater. I can do the lingo. If the city determines after the meeting that the site meets the requirements for a conservation development, that they go through after the bubble diagram, then they get a letter of determination from the city stating that, yes, you can move forward to submit to TRC for a concept plan. So they have gone already through a few steps, additional steps prior to submitting to TRC for a concept plan. So I'll go back here. That's the open space. As you can see, the amount of open space, the requirement for open space is larger on a conservation development. And you can see the open space in there. You see the wetlands, critical area, and grant trees are present on this lot. Wetlands are proposed to be impacted and the proper permits must be obtained prior to impact. Removal of grant trees, grant and protected trees will require approval from the city's Board of Zoning Appeals site design. The property is surrounded by residential uses both in the city and in Berkeley County. And then if you choose to approve the concept plan, it is just a concept plan. They will have to return to TRC for preliminary plat and road construction plans. I will say it every time. I will say it every time, and they must comply with stormwater design standard manuals, requirements, and any other requirements for all the other departments. The city's technical review committee has reviewed and approved the conceptual subdivision for compliance with city standards, and the staff recommendation is for approval with 2 conditions in this one. So one of the conditions is that the portion of Clemens Ferry Road, that is not owned and maintained by the city of Charleston, which starts in St. Thomas Island Drive, to a portion a little lower, but past this site, will be brought up to meet city of Charleston standards, such as 50-foot right of way and meeting stormwater requirements prior to submitting to TRC for preliminary plat and road construction plans, whether it's annexed into the city or not. That's condition number 1. So they have to bring that portion of Clemens Ferry Road to city standards. However that is accomplished is up to them. The number of lots must be reduced to 37 if the highland acreage after obtaining the wetland field permits does not meet the minimum acreage required of 10.8. Those are the 2 conditions of the approval, but the recommendation is for approval with those 2 conditions.
Great, thank you. Would anyone like to be heard on this? The applicants, anyone like to be heard? No? Anyone? close the public aspect. Commission members, questions, comments, motion?
I have one quick comment.
Mr. Hurst?
I have voiced my concerns with other subdivision plans that I didn't feel met the spirit of the conservation development zoning. But I think this one passes the eyeball test of what I would expect it to look like. Just wanted to mention.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. Is that a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
There you go.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Singh, motion by Mr. Hurst, second by Mr. Singh, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You're in opposition? Great, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for being patient with us. Last item is the ordinance amendment number 1. That's approval to amend the Charleston zoning code to create mixed use workforce housing in 378. More.
Okay. So, you all remember the presentation we had from Mr. Martin from the mayor's office about the kind of project 3,500 efforts for creating 3,500 affordable housing units in the city. Well, this is one of the next steps in that process. This would create the zoning that would be put in place on a lot of the Charleston Housing Authority filings. A few private development sites that were identified in that presentation, and the new parcel that the city has under contract that is at the corner of Union and Marston Drive. So this would be kind of the future of a lot of these affordable housing units in the city. It's based on the MU1 and MU2 WH districts. However, it goes further in that it requires 50% affordable housing. It has a further breakdown about the percentages and levels of income that would be required within those areas. And it does not change anything about heights on these sites. The heights would stay as they are at present. However, the city is going to be undertaking a major design charrette in March to look at concepts for those sites that might help us determine what our heights are most appropriate for them, design styles, layouts, things like that. So that will be an opportunity to get some input onto that. But this is just kind of setting up the zoning ordinance, so it's ready to receive this type of innovative affordable housing setup for the city. And we recommend its approval, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions you have.
Would anyone like to be heard on this item? Come on up, sir. How you doing, sir?
Good, how are y'all?
Good.
I'm Sam Spence from the Preservation Society. I know we've been here a while, but permit me a short introduction on the MU3. The Preservation Society is glad to support this creative approach toward meaningfully addressing the affordability challenges that impact all of us. MU3 WH acknowledges the role that the municipal government can take to fix a problem when policies made at the state level limit their use within the private market. And adding affordable housing is a core objective in our city plan, alongside other critical goals like resilience and coastal protection. But developing policy mechanisms to reinforce that has been difficult at times, as we see in the discussion today. So it's good to see the city trying to walk the walk on housing. The WH districts have enabled, in general, not just 1, 2, not just 3, have enabled high density housing, but with limited public benefit, as we've seen so far. And I don't have to tell you all, but the real world implementation of some of these incentive-based zoning districts like the MU and the UP have shown how unlimited density, particularly in areas, sensitive areas close to waterways, can present challenges to those other goals, those resilience goals. And so the 4 proposed areas in the mayor's larger project 3,500 present a chance to fully entitle affordable housing at scale in perpetuity, which is a rare chance. And so having stronger control of that piece of it also means the city can walk the walk on those other city priorities. And so we're excited to see how that could be implemented. And for example, on MU3WH, that would mean you would need to address serious challenges when projects on taking those 4 areas that the city, that the mayor has outlined. Gadsden Creek on West Edge will be a challenge, and Newmarket Creek on Morrison Drive will be a challenge. Additionally, on the different piece of this larger project that's not related to exactly what we're discussing today, proactive community engagement will be critical to managing resident impacts that will come with the redevelopment of Gadsden Green, of Cook River Courts, and of Meeting Street Manor. And those will be discussions, I'm sure many folks will be eager to help participate in, including the Preservation Society. And so thank you for supporting this innovative new zoning district, and we hope this can be kind of a pressure release valve for some of these affordability challenges that we're facing in Charleston.
Thank you for your patience and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lisa Jones. I'm with Historic Charleston Foundation, and it's good to see you all. I'm glad this item is finally here. We believe this district represents an important step forward for Charleston, increasing the required share of affordable units in the MU3 workforce housing district from 20% to 50% is a meaningful and really necessary shift. And by adding more requirements of developments in areas where the city offers this type of flexibility, this district will ensure that workforces can accommodate significant growth. So that's our first point of support. We are also encouraged by the MU3WH district's requirement that affordable homes be offered across a range of income levels. Ms. Jackson and I were speaking earlier, and she talked about the devil being in the details, and I agree on that. What we see today is something that Historic Charleston Foundation supports. One of the most impactful elements of this district is the perpetual affordability requirement. I think we've all seen that workforce housing has been refused or not really fulfilled its intention in the past, and so keeping it in perpetuity as affordable workforce housing is really important, and it will help provide affordability in the long term. We also support the provision that MU3WH developers can pay a fee in lieu or donate land in place of the buildings. It's really important to have the housing actually built so that we can address the problem at hand. And then we just want to express support and say that the MU3WH district is a powerful tool that can help us produce high quality, permanently affordable housing units, homes designed and built in keeping with the style and character of Historic Charleston. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to partnering with the city to make this happen.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for being with us. Ms. Jackson. Ms. Jackson, I want to correct one thing earlier that you said. You'd said that there was a very good new council member over there. I'm not going to correct. I'm going to say we also had a very good council member years ago over there. You, Ms. Jackson. So anyway.
Thanks. That was a long time ago. I learned a lot, so thank you for the education that you all provided to me. Continues today. Yeah, I'm here. I agree with what I just heard our two August preservation groups say. I do think that having an ordinance like this officially on our books is a highlight of my time living and working in the city. The fact that the ordinance as it's drafted does exclude fee in lieu opportunities, I think is huge, as well as the permanent requirement. So I'm more a fan than I'm not a fan. I do think the devil is in the details. One of the details we saw in the draft that I read in haste, or maybe it was even the story in the paper, talked about prescribed percentages of affordability. None of those prescriptions go below 60% of area median income. So that is not the definition of affordable in our community. We would be cutting out a huge portion of the actual workforce who try to make a living here on the peninsula in our services industry. So I do hope that that consideration is, taken into serious changes, and that we will have a full range of affordability. Maybe it's the title that it's MU3/workforce housing. Workforce housing has evolved into, a definition of an income range that really does not mean affordable housing in our area. So I think you know, we need to be clear about what we're actually trying to accomplish. And I'm not here representing the Charleston Housing Authority, but I am very proud to be a commissioner on the Housing Authority these days. And this really has been an evolving discussion that CHA has been having with the mayor and the mayor's office to work through hopefully the potential partnership that we're about to join into that would take advantage of an ordinance like the zoning code that it provides. And we are clear as a bell that we're housing the current residents of each one of the housing authority's properties. And the mayor has added on, you know, the carrot that he's hoping that we would be able to improve that number of people who are in that very, very low income range in our city. So that's just my cautionary old woman advice to you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Thanks for being here. Anyone else like to speak on this? Not that I close the public aspect, commission member, questions, comments. Ms. Jacobs?
Somebody else brought that up to me about 60%, and I read the sections called special conditions for M3W differently. Is it number 4 says 10% of total workforce housing shall not exceed 60%. I think that covers the concern. I think it just might be the interpretation of how that's stated. Am I correct on that?
And there may be some syntax things in this, but the intent is that 10% of those units that are built on the site would not exceed 60% of AMI.
I think that covers the concerns that Ms. Jackson and some other people have mentioned to me. One other question I have. So this is in addition to MU 1 and 2. It's not replacing anything.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand that. And does the city keep a list of people that qualify when they build these affordable places? Some cities do that, and I just
Yeah,
wonder.
it changes almost every year because the AMI changes.
Okay,
So I don't know that, I think we have a list of, to a degree, of people who are interested in affordable units. But I think they've got to requalify every year based on income.
I'm just wondering if that would be beneficial to incentivize people to build these so that I know they would have almost immediate occupancy, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the 518 East Bay Street that we worked on so long that was going into one of the CMUHs has kind of turned into a student housing project. Am I incorrect on that?
Oh, the one that is currently getting pilings driven over on it. Yeah. So that has gone from just being standard apartments with some workforce, being student apartments, but they will still have to meet all the criteria of the MU, I believe it's MU1 workforce housing over there. Yeah. Is what it was.
So it's not, so it's really not adding to our affordable housing for people to work. It's more student housing. That's what I'm concerned about.
It is, although by virtue of the student housing going there, it does take some pressure off our existing neighborhoods because the students are here either way. So we view that as still creating.
Two other things. There's a definition of owner occupied and rental, but is there a requirement that some of these percentages are, is it all rental? Is it part owner occupied? Is it? It
That
doesn't
has
matter.
not been, there is not a requirement right now that there could be a mix. We would encourage a mix, but there isn't a requirement.
There's no requirement for one or the other. Okay, and the last thing is, when I read this ordinance, there's all the definitions on the beginning, okay? It became confusing to me because some of them are excluded later on for MU3. So maybe there needs to be a qualifier at the top of these definitions, because I'm reading them and I'm going, well, I don't understand this. When I read further into the thing, it says, except for MU3. So maybe some of the definitions should be highlighted that say at the top, there's just a qualifying statement that the above definitions apply, except for the highlighted ones are not for MU3 or something like that. Because if you're reading the ordinance to function, it's very confusing at the definition at the beginning for me. It was.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you.
Is there a motion on this?
I'll move to approve it.
Okay.
If there are no other thing, just
Okay.
move on.
Any other questions, comments? Second?
I'll second.
Mr. Hussein seconds, motion by Ms. Jacobs to approve, second by Mr. Hussein. Any other questions, comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone in opposition? That's 6 in favor, none opposed. Thanks everyone for coming. Appreciate your patience and time. Staff updates. And we need to-
You do expect that we will have the that's coming before you all next month.
Okay.
So we're getting forms signed by the different entities that own those, and so that should be on your agenda next month.
All right, very good. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Morgan?
Nothing.
I just want to give everyone, commission members an update. Mr. Hussein and I had a conference call, Mr. Morgan and Ms. Herring. Sometimes commission members, refer Mr. Hussein and I for commission members, sometimes it's a frustration that we approve something unanimously or almost unanimously, and it goes to council. And sometimes, we have the ability, fortunately, we have the ability, just like tonight, we spend a couple hours on something. Council has a very short window to listen to things, and sometimes it's 10 minutes to hear on an item where we may spend 2 or 3 hours. And staff, sometimes, most of the time, we agree with staff 100%, but there's always in a family there's disagreement. The staff may disagree on the opinion, and sometimes we felt like we may want someone from the commission to go to a city council member just to give our 2 cents about why we voted a certain way. So not every meeting, maybe not once a year, hopefully not once every 3 years, but occasionally it may be an occasion where we feel very strongly about something. Staff may agree or disagree, but we may want to go and just reiterate our position, why we spent 2 or 3 hours that night listening to the public and why we feel a certain way. There's no distrust. We appreciate staff. We need staff. We love staff. And, but so that's just, I just want everyone to know, so everyone's above board, that we had this conversation, me and Mr. Hussein and Ms. Herring and Mr. Morgan, and he had directed us to Ms. Copeland, talk maybe possibly about just making sure there's no legal aspect of that. Nothing's going on now. There's no pickle item that's in question here. I just want to give everybody, so it's all above board. So, anything else? Ms. Jacobs gave me a memo that there's and we, years ago, there used to be some, we talked about the county and the city and all these donut holes and things like that. Used to be every few years, the City of Charleston Planning Commission would meet with the County Planning Commission just to talk about things we agree and disagree on, and how some of the areas that we deal with affect both of us. And if one of us deals with it a certain way, it really affects the way the other one deals with it. So that may be something we talk about in the future, about having some joint meeting with the County Planning Commission.
And of course, their planners have been involved in our zoning ordinance stuff, and as we begin seeing actual segments of that coming this year, and getting wrapped up this year, they will be involved again too. But yeah.
Yep, good. That's all good. And Ms. Jacobs gave me something on infrastructure, TS subcommittee, and missing middle housing subcommittee meeting. That's going to be on January the 26th. And I guess she gave me that, going on the same line, that there's some things that we can work on together.
Commissioner Luke Morris reached out to me because he's been involved with things that I was involved with, the plan was actually, and he did a presentation that he shared with me on the missing middle, which we've talked about with affordability and things of this nature. And their commission decided to build a subcommittee to really dive into this situation, and he's chairing it. So he sent me the agenda for Monday that I may attend just to hear what they're going to talk about. But I thought I would bring it to the group because they've decided to formalize it into a subcommittee.
And it's at 2 o'clock at the Bonnie Hamilton building.
They've formalized it into a subcommittee to what extent, I don't know yet, because I was just made aware of it. But I thought I would bring it to the chair so that I could share their thoughts with us, because we are talking multi-jurisdictional tonight, and we should be working in a silo.
Any other items for saying anything? Anyone else? If not, it's hard to believe. I was telling Mr. Hurst when we walked in that I'll set a meeting with a client next week, and it's already the dang 29th of January. Already through January, it was crazy. So anyway, I hope everyone had a good year, good, happy and healthy year, and continue that way. And again, our condolences to Ms. Brian Jenkins on her loss. Very sad.